intense military and police patrol in town to enforce a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew to preserve lives.
Life appears on the surface to be normal, but the undercurrents are still very, very hot. It's unpredictable.
Maintaining the security calm at a very high cost.
From 2012 to date, we have spent not less than 100,000 cedis on just feeding security and also the provision of fuel and lubricants.
Businesses are collapsing.
300,000. 250. 200.
A chieftaincy conflict in this town is the cause of this. Interveners are struggling to bring the sides together.
From yesterday and today, the high level of mistrust, and that is what is making the parties not able to engage each other in dialogue.
Children are suffering the brunt.
We want peace, no more war. We want peace, no more war.
Conflict here, conflict there, conflict everywhere. Why should Ghana's largest region be turned into the most hostile region in the country due to the many chieftaincy and inter- and intra-tribal disputes? Why should we allow chieftaincy, which is supposed to unite us, rather tear us apart? Why must innocent lives perish to satisfy the aims and aspirations of others? Why the kill to rule? Bumpurugu is a no-go zone. Nampanduri was, but it is now a cleansed land. Now, Bimbilla has also joined the no-go zone areas in the northern region of Ghana. The sun is rising brilliantly over the horizon this morning in the northern region town of Bimbilla. Usually, with every sunrise comes hope and opportunities for people, but that cannot be said about the people of Bimbilla. In Bimbilla, the morning sun is another invitation to a new day of sporadic gunshots, uncertainty and insecurity because of protracted chieftaincy conflict. Bimbilla is the capital of the Nanumba North District and the seat of the Bimbilla Naa, the overlord of Nanumba. A struggle between two families over the Bimbilla chieftaincy is the reason for the deep-seated suspicions and tension which have disturbed the once peaceful town. Reverend Father Michael Cobb, the man in charge of the YNDP Center, a facility set up by the Catholic Church to respond to the many chieftaincy disputes in the northern region, traces the history of this intra-gate conflict.
It happened after the 1999, after the death of the sitting chief Naa Baraka. There was a need for a successor, and once it's the rotational gate matter, it went to the other gate, that is the Gbuma-yili. But efforts to get a substantive chief has always been difficult. From one court to another court to another court. That is where we are now. It's basically about succession. It's a chieftaincy succession dispute conflict. It's about chieftaincy succession to a throne. Intragate. It's not intragate.
Deadly violence in Bimbilla is not new, especially to the elderly in this town. Many of them still have fresh memories of the 1994 Kokumba-Nanumba War, which was nicknamed the Guinea Fowl War. It is by far one of the worst conflicts recorded in Ghana. According to some historians, that war claimed about 2,000 lives, displaced at least 200,000 people, and completely destroyed 441 villages. Bimbilla and its surrounding villages have never been the same since that major conflict. Though there have been more conflict, also deadly, they come no close to the Guinea Fowl War. Recent disturbances in Bimbilla started after the death of the king of Bimbilla, Naa Abarika Atta, in 1999. A struggle between two families, the Nakpaa Naa and the Dasana families from the same Gbuma-yili gate over who becomes the next king, became a big issue. Spokesperson for the Nakpaa Naa, Abu Hassan Idrisu, says the kingmakers mistakenly settled on the former chief executive of Onasia Rice, Atani Dasana Abdullahi, and that triggered the conflict.
All these titles are good titles that he was possessing in Tamale, but they were not titles of Bimbilla in Nanumba Kingdom. So he wasn't in the queue at all. Then other kingmakers went behind his leader and held him up as a chief.
So that is the genesis.
And that brought about the genesis of the today conflict at hand.
The Patihina Azindo Nangtongba, who speaks for the Dasana family, however, argues the kingmakers did no wrong making their son the king of Bimbilla.
Karakuna kanalelgula ambolle inchang kayanum tenirba awe te kayanum manirba awe ko bolte chanda lelgo no temalle.
After the Supreme Court has striked it out as withdrawn, the Naleru chief invited the 9 kingmakers to Naleru to delve into the matter. And
Nte lele chirani nte bolte ntia no vi ka duone kanya Nakpaa Naa kutodi Bimbilla na ndane nye Bimbilla na.
with the Naleru chief, for 8 months, he delved into the matter and finally called them to tell them that upon his going through into the matter, he saw that the late Nandani was the legitimate chief of Bimbilla.
Katokuna kabiene besara ka NGO numbolte demongu te kayana mata nirba awe.
After that returned from Naleru, they still came to insist that they weren't in agreement. Peace Council in Damangu, the Sekotaps, invited the 9 kingmakers again to Damangu for 1 week and delve into the matter.
To express their displeasure and to again make the point that the king of Bimbilla must come from their side and not the Dasana family, the Nakpaa Naa family also ensconced Alhaji Salifu Dawuni as a king. Now, we have 2 people each claiming to be king of Bimbilla. The Northern Regional House of Chiefs intervened and investigated. In March 2012, a 3-member committee set up by the Regional House of Chiefs unanimously declared Naa Atani Dasana as the right person to lead Bimbilla. Naa Dawuni appealed at the National House of Chiefs but died in March 2014, even before the House could rule on the matter. The issue became even more complicated at this point. This continued until when Alhaji Salifu Dawuni, the man ensconced by the Nakpaa Naa family, died. Alhaji Salifu Dawuni was a Muslim, and the Islamic tradition demands he needed to be buried without delay. There are a number of reasons why the Islamic religion is keen on this tradition. As spokesperson for the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Arimiyaw Shaibu explains, there are dire consequences for delaying burials.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, educated us that when somebody dies and we are going to bury him, hasten to take him to his burial place, to the grave. Because if he is a decent and pure soul, then there is an attraction for him to get home, to connect with his maker as quickly as possible. There's a certain desire of the soul to want to get in connection with God. So the Prophet said, hasten and take him to his rest place. If he happens to be, of course we don't pass judgment, but only God knows. If he happens to be an evil soul also, then he says that that which you keep on your shoulders is an evil thing. So quickly now get rid of it. Get it there and leave it to the judgment of God. And so this forms the basis why at the instance or the event of the death of any person, to clothe him, respectfully go and bury him and come home and engage in the funeral where people come to commiserate and now greet and share some of the sorrows of those and keep on praying for the person. So for us, the tradition of keeping dead bodies for a long time, we see it as an affront to the very person who has departed. And that's the reason why we very, 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 very quick. In Islam, anything that the prophet has taught as of revelation from God, any deviation from it is considered as sin, is considered as disobedience to God. And for us, any act of disobedience to God constitutes a sin. But the dead person, is already gone. But the one who took the decision to keep the dead body in disobedience to the commandments of God, then now carries the sin.
Yet, Alhaji Salifu Dawuni's body is still at the Yendi Government Hospital morgue awaiting burial, almost 2 years after his death. A confusion over the burial site of the late Nakpaa Naa is the reason. The family is bitter about this, as their spokesperson Abu Hassan Idrisu explains.
The president must see to it that the law takes care of all of us. Wherever in the world has somebody died and somebody debars him from being buried, and the state do not see it to be a problem. That is a fundamental human rights violation. Yes. And additionally, the regional and district security councils, they are seriously briefing on Nasalfu faction. We don't have our right at all, even as human beings, to brief to the point that we are constructing our pavilion to create shelter for the people who came from far and near, waiting for the burial of the old man, to have a shelter in Sitan. They are stopping us, and the district security council is saying we should apply for permit. They are briefing on us for us to forcefully admit and agree that my late Bimbilla, my late brother, Mr. Atani Dasana, is the Bimbilla now.
A number of highly respected persons, especially from the northern region, intervened to bring the parties together, but that did not work. Bimbilla is the hometown of the UN Secretary General Special Representative and head of the United Nations for West Africa, Dr. Ibn Chambers. He flew down to Bimbilla to ensure the peace he stands for is achieved in his hometown.
One crucial issue that needs to be tackled in Bimbilla is the chieftaincy issue. It has caused division in the town, and it has made many reluctant to come to Bimbilla. Let's talk about the president who has been able to visit the northern region without being able to come here. I believe it was probably true also for former president before. And I can say that even as somebody who's from Bimbilla, I often find it reluctant to come here because I don't want to get caught in the chieftaincy disputes. We're praying and hoping that when the regional house of chiefs comes out with a decision, and I hope very soon that all sides will accept it, will come back home so that we find a win-win reconciliation that will bring all of us together so that we can move this region forward. Continuing chieftaincy disputes is a source of conflict. It holds back the people. It creates unnecessary bitterness. We need to put that behind us so that we can begin to tap the rich resources of this region, of this particular district, so that we can improve the lives of the people and make poverty our public enemy number one.
The murder of Andani Dasana Abdullahi in his palace on the 19th of June 2014 has deepened the conflict in Bimbilla. The chief was assassinated shortly after evening Muslim prayers. One person who died with the chief was shot at the entrance of the chief's palace, while two others who sustained various gunshot wounds were later found dead. The fifth person died at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Bloody Thursday for the people of Bimbilla. 5 prominent citizens killed just like that. The Patihina Azindo Nakdoma says they had picked signals that the chief was going to be murdered.
Jime Captain Nakpaa Naa Mbier Kabzan Watam Tiantamal Kotipi.
At a given time, we here and had the information that Nakpaa Naa was sick, and they referred him to Tamil Teaching Hospital, and he passed on there.
Oh, Tintlaya Wumshem. To Wumbeka and Nakpaa Naa Pimo. Nubun Kuan Dambago.
There were news all over the area that once Nakpaa Naa is passed on, they will kill Andani, Chief Andani too, in place of that.
The gruesome murder of Naa Andani Dasana Abdullahi led to violent clashes in Bimbilla. The Patihina Azindo Naktoma says he had to quickly assemble his elders to hit the street of Bimbilla to calm tempers.
But they were able to contain it.
Kakul Gilpala Belzazan, Yeso comes from now, Nandan Pia, Amatan and Nabachi, so the Mu Pietapa, so many chanting your Shayile.
They consider seriously, critically, for the sake of the land, they had to move round through the principal streets of Bimbilla to speak seriously with people, to understand that for the sake of the land, the chief is dead already. There's nothing we can do to bring him back. So for the sake of the land, they should bury those differences, and nothing of that sort should happen. Nobody should attempt anything for the sake of children, women, and the land.
And did the people listen to him and the elders who went on the street?
Ne karabrawum ayelguma.
Bravo, wonder to Kanazan Yamoma, or Anangu, Brana.
If they had not listened to the cry or the plea, could you have come? You wouldn't have come to meet anybody in Bimbilla Township. You would have come to meet ghosts, or maybe animals and dogs and vultures.
To suppress the anger, pain, and all possible reprisals, a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew was slapped on the area. Government then announced a 10,000 cedi reward for anyone with information leading to the arrest of the killers of Naa Dasana Dawuni. Bimbilla has never been the same since these happenings, and the West African Network for Peace Building (WANEP) believes, beside chieftaincy, there are other factors working against the peace in Bimbilla. Albert Yayang is the acting national coordinator for WANEP.
The issue of recognition comes in here again. What is it that other people, who they consider themselves as together as from one group, not wanting maybe representations from one faction, to become chief. So we need to ask further questions to understand the dynamics that are behind, those that we are not seeing and those that we do not understand, from the perspective of the people, and that can enable us, begin to address the issues. Human beings, as we are, always want to feel recognized, and at any point in time we want to project ourselves, and so it is unimaginable that within one group, it is challenging for them to recognize each other and to forge ahead, and have representations from any of the groups that are competing or agitating, So it's something that needs further interrogation.
There is heightened tension in Bimbilla, but if you are a stranger, you will never sense it. Each side has adequately prepared to protect and defend themselves anytime. At times, some of these attacks turn violent, leading to the death of many. A number of people have lost loved ones as a result of this. 45-year-old farmer Afa Al-Hassan tells the story of how two of his brothers were killed on the same day. His 30-year-old brother Haruna Abbas, who was a teacher, was killed in town, while his other brother, 35-year-old Afa Idrisu, was killed in his own house as soon as he returned from the farm.
Government fono yanima asema yebaka momu soja fono ene di omukeka no panifon mu nyina ye di bibia ko momu omu nka hwi onti omu gya momu se omu ye di omu pe
nti sisi asankofo ya ubo mudin hu o ma se na ya husi yo
Me hu ye me ya me so me ntime ni bibia de mba ye omo na me gya amanya kompon mbakasa
to di ache omo
ene de e wonya kompon che
adentia
because me ntime hu ma asama amase omo ye me sa no nti minim ade amase omo fasa asam no abaye so no because one yenye ehini ni aha yani omusu yani masam bi omusu nti yanim se dia ma se omunyini agye so sa.
His brother's house was subsequently burnt, and a tenant not party to any of the factions got killed in the process. Afa Al-Hassan takes me round the about 7-bedroom house razed to the ground with fire.
When nyina e bullets, when nyina nye bibia na ye na sa e bullets no wa ha nti tama omu baba yesa no when nyina e bullets nye bibia na ye no ne nyina e bullets nti tama omu shifie no e soja nti na ye muslim karmofono buta jina ne nke na wofa ntamabi ayensiu asora jina konjasu akatan ejano na majano na power no ambano so sana woye sa na tamanya kumpomba yino amaye no woframe o minu ya panini so womba jina monka anye kwan amamia ya ntime mfre na sa first time no ne yiri panini ni damnie ne yiri panini damnie wesu ye de mane pakro omukumo omu no ya haye mo omu ye kirese nyina ye baako no woti ye sunche na nyina ye wom nti omu nua bi na egya damwe ama no nti omu fe ne nyina so na omu di samasam no abaye so no.
Afa Al-Hassan knows the killers of his brothers, but he says none has been arrested. He is a poor farmer and could barely take care of his own family.
Sa yenua menua no o wayire menu die ka no so na omukunu no ono so fie gina kiri ha ono so yire menu fie wura ya ono so yire menu omu nyina womba nkora wo ho na asase asa nkora no hwana obakata omu amame misu menishi ya nyina yesra nyankompo na ye kakra di o maye no na dia kata ye nyina so
ntisi ni mane na yire ni na wo na wo hwe omo
insha Allah rabbi.
I am being led to another place where a widow and her children live. It is a compound house. This is where 33-year-old mother of 3, Adisa Al-Hassan, lives. Her husband was killed in the conflict. Adisa was 9 months pregnant when her husband was shot and killed right in her presence.
I
was in the same house with him. He was making a garden to plant maize. And they said there is violence in town, that he was working on the garden. Then there was a gunshot and we ran into the room. Then they come and attack us. They pulled him out of the room and destroyed the house and killed him. Then they destroyed the zinc of the house. They pulled him outside and killed him. That was what happened.
So was she there when they were doing this to the husband?
But cannot.
Yes.
So come on,
Yes, I was just there with him. I was standing with him when they came. But then I was pregnant with this baby.
Not forgotten. I can't say this to your face, but I know you hear.
A week after her husband was killed, Adisa gave birth to a girl. Some studies have revealed that babies begin to engage many of their senses and to learn about the world around them during the last trimester of pregnancy. It has been established that not only can a baby hear the sounds of his mother's body, her stomach growling, her heart beating, and the occasional hiccup, but the baby can also hear noises from beyond. If indeed unborn babies can hear even in the womb, then it means Adisa's baby, who is 5 months old now, may have heard the scream of her father when he was shot, and also heard her mother crying for help. Clinical psychologist Aku Hefron fears the effect this could have on the baby.
Because the emotions could affect the child may go through some form of negative emotions which would manifest later in his or her life.
Adisa says by the time some neighbors came over, her husband had died.
Yes, I could not control myself. It was people that come to my rescue. Then they brought me to this house.
You get them as where that has gone to?
Yes, they do. I always think about these children, what I will do for them to be responsible persons in the future, how they will grow up. That is my thinking.
So, did you see those who did that to your husband?
Yes, I did.
People who go through such experiences could suffer from depression and eventually mental problems. Clinical psychologist Aku Hefron says Adisa needs immediate psychological help if she can cope in the long term.
Since this thing happened in her presence, she may from time to time have flashbacks. And that can cause a lot of mental disorders. You know, there's something called post-traumatic stress disorder. It's an anxiety thing. So from time to time, she feels like she's seeing whatever happened again. I mean, it's being played back, and then it causes her to get anxious. And then she behaves in a weird manner, etc. So she may need a lot of help to be able to overcome the experience she had.
Those who did not die would have to live with one disability or health condition or the other after suffering serious gunshot wounds. Ibrahim Tijani is one of them.
We were there passing through the window when the guy shot my junior brother. So I rushed to pick my junior brother. He shot himself. So,
which part were you shot?
My stomach. It was past my stomach here, so they opened it. You see here. You see my leg. Even though my shoulder here.
And how many years ago?
No, it's 5 months now.
5 months?
Yeah. It's 5 months now.
So how did you survive?
There is a policeman come and pick me. I was lying down over there and they came and picked me.
It is very difficult for me to understand why these wars continue and why innocent people continue to suffer and die as a result of these conflicts. But I know that the deaths are needless and must be stopped. Why wouldn't this cause fear and panic in this town? which stranger will be willing to come here and work? Professionals are packing out of Bimbilla, as Reverend Father Michael Cobb, the in charge of the NDP Center, confirms.
Some nurses, I'm told, who belong to our church have asked for transfer because of the situation here. And sometimes to get very devoted nurses who are committed to their work to be posted to an area and all of a sudden they're asking for transfer is usually very difficult. You can easily get another nurse to come, but as to whether the quality of that nurse will be comparable to the one who has just been transferred, sometimes you may not get. And some nurses are very afraid to go to work. Some are not ready to accept postings here, and some are also asking for transfer. And I'm told even some equipment here are not, even though they are procured them, like they said, there's an X-ray machine here at the moment, but they want to man it. They don't have. It's possible someone is trained somewhere. If they advertise now, the person may come. But because of the conflict situation, the young man or the young lady wouldn't apply to come and work. So the machine is standing there.
And
so
it's affecting the people.
It's affecting the people. It's affecting health delivery. Because now, for you to have X-ray services here, you either have to go to Tamale or Yendi, which, but for the conflict, wouldn't have happened.
During the day, there is nothing to show that there is a deep-seated problem here in Bimbilla, because you will find people moving about freely. Around this time, what may probably prompt a stranger that all is not well in this town is the sight of military and police armored vehicles. They have been placed in strategic areas. A first-time visitor will, however, sense danger from late afternoon when traders start parking, shops begin to lock up, residents seen rushing home, and security officers start flooding the street one by one. It is a sign that there is curfew here and the time to sleep is a few minutes away. It starts at exactly 6 p.m.
Bimbilla is a business hub, and in the past we wouldn't have seen a situation like this where an area like this will be deserted. It's exactly 6 p.m. There is curfew here. It's almost starting, so people have closed their shops. You can see all the traders have packed, gone home already. You can just see a few people on the street of Bimbilla, but very soon all of them will leave here because they wouldn't want to have an encounter with the police and military patrols.
In no time, from afar, I saw a police patrol vehicle coming. It is time for residents to be forced into their homes to sleep, so the duty of the patrol team is to ensure that under the curfew, all persons are required to stay indoors within the specified period. The government imposed the curfew to ensure public order in this area.
We have been following this police patrol vehicle now for some time now. The car has been going around all through town, forcing people to go into their homes. If you are seen on the street, you'll be asked questions, and if a vehicle is also seen, the driver will be stopped and asked why he's moving about at that time, or because of the curfew. As you can see, there is a barricade here, there is a police barrier here, and there is a car behind the barrier. No car is supposed to cross after 6 p.m. That's why this vehicle is there. This vehicle would have to stay here until 6 a.m.
This is how I ended my first day in Bimbilla. At 5 a.m. the following morning, I heard the Muslim call to prayer from a house not far from where I slept. The curfew is still in place, so no one dares step out and go to the mosque and pray. I was keen on finding a bold man or woman like that, so I stepped out in search of one. After several minutes of driving through the Bimbilla township, I found none. By the time I realized, I had entered Papi, a curfew-free town which shares a border with Bimbilla. There, a number of people were seeking shelter in a mosque.
People who were on this bus got here around 9, and they were compelled to sleep in the bus till this morning. It's not 6 yet, so they are unable to cross. They would have to wait until 6 before they can make their way through to Bimbilla, to their destination. Some are going to various places, Damango, Tamale, and other places. But because of the curfew, it is such that they are compelled to spend the night here.
A lot of people couldn't cross through Bimbilla before the curfew hours, so they passed the night at the bus stops and in front of kiosks in the neighboring towns. These people, including children, had to spend the night in the cold.
Where are you coming from? Yendi. And why are you still here?
Because of the curfew.
What has the curfew done?
Oh, it was affecting them because when you come here around 5 o'clock, you can't reach 6 o'clock unless they break.
So what time did you get here? What time did you get to this? What's the name of this town?
Babi.
Babi. Babi.
Yes.
Okay. And what time did you get here?
Around 6 o'clock.
Last night?
Last night.
And you had to stay here? You had to spend the night here?
Until 6 o'clock.
Me free tamale na me koda mango.
And ti udru ha time bay?
Ndra edru ha be senai.
Na de na wantimi anto aso anko.
Ndra e ko barrier be omusi ensa echimra ha se me mbe barrier no because of curfew.
Oh, curfew nita mo da ha ma de eche no.
Pachane.
And ti unu nyu anu mo he fa na mo dai.
E da ka ni.
Oh, mutimi de mani e.
Yeah, manage.
Say.
Yeah, ben then because you ni mo bia wa ha because me ye konkumani me ni mo bia wa ha se. Nti o se mi da ka ni.
Enti de bia say na ye se bo 6 pa ho na odura ye be mo aka hanom.
Pachane. E be ka ha se. Because o anda ha wonti mi nda barrier. O ben ho a o mu mpene.
Na senka open tima koya de na also meet deadline bia obey day.
O lens no nyina me say because curfew ninti.
Okay.
Higher pa until muso mai.
At the police barrier, there are a number of vehicles parked waiting to continue their journey as soon as the curfew is over. It is now 6 a.m. and the exit and entry gates of Bimbilla have been opened. Vehicles which got stuck in nearby villages and various police barriers are now about to move and pass through Bimbilla to their destinations. Traders are also pouring onto the streets to start their day. A number of school children can be spotted heading to school. At the Bimbilla lorry station, there are scores of people waiting to join any available bus to their destination. Idi Fuseni is one of them. He's off to Tamale and he must come back before 6 p.m.
I'm going to Tamale. I should have go there, maybe have an ample time to solve all my problems. But now I have to go within 15 minutes. I have to use only 15 minutes to solve the problem. Then join the car back.
Oh, hold on. Okay, so does it mean there's only one car that moves from here to Tamale every day?
No, the fact is that the car we are using here, when we get there, there's another car that will be coming. So you have to be very fast to book that car again. Other than that, before you get back, then you have to stay at the barrier because by then 6 o'clock will be up. So you cannot get into the town. So you must be at the barrier. So when you take this car, you get to Tamale. Then if you want to come back, then you must at least work within 30 minutes. Then finish all your issues. Other than that, you will be stuck at the barrier.
But are you going to be able to use just 30 minutes to finish all your rounds?
Yeah, that's what I'm planning. I should do that. If not that, I will not be able to come, or unless I have to take another car to END. And if I don't get a car very fast, because that place is like a truncated one. You come, then you have to sit, get another car, and for the car have to be full before they move. So they don't bother whether they reach barrier or not. So if you, an individual, want to plan your journey to go and come back, then you must make sure that when you get to Tamale, you use not less than 30 minutes. Then you get the car that will be arriving here at 3:30 so that you'll be safe.
Sadiq Dawood is another resident here. He is a teacher and has witnessed countless attacks and killings. Mr. Dawood is concerned about the effects of all these on education.
It's very difficult to be a teacher here, simply because even if you are teaching in the town, it's somehow better than teaching outside the town. Because during the conflict or resurrection, people were coming from the village and they were killed. So if there's a problem in the town, the teachers from the villages, they failed not to go to school because they were not protected. And even those of us in the town here, you know, if you are being with a children, your height is higher than those of the children. So anything can happen. So because of that, we feel like staying back instead of going to school.
So has there been a situation whereby you were teaching and you had gunshots and the school had to close down?
Yes, during the last problem that has just come. It was on Thursday. I myself was in the school. We had only 3 teachers in the school. So when we heard a gunshot, I was staying, keeping the children intact in the school. So when we heard a gunshot, then the children were hesitating to go home. So I was protecting them until security drew near and took the children away. That gave me the chance to also run away.
In Bimbilla, some businesses like beverage making thrived in the evenings, but because of the curfew, such businesses can only be done during the day.
And I know it's when you're 1.5, 1.2, 800 tea, the Biane Seneco, a Tumi Bakrana, the free Tamale, Yendi, or Biba Omedawa, Nessi Omba Bedaha, say Obeda and a BBC, Obe into Munada, go Yendi Tamale, into Yenina, Yumana, aside until Bianya, but
and she said, what's the shiny daytime say? Ebi abepono nyeska be say.
Na se am gina ho metumi 300,000.
30 cedis.
30 cedis. 300,000. Utumi ba kura 250, utumi ba kura 200. Fremi ba 100, 2 cedi pe na obi be 30. 2 cedi pe.
Enra.
Nne. Mi free 6 ba na 2 cedi pe na me 20 sisi a. Ni pa ba ko pe na 30. Ti e ade na high pa.
Ti na 30 cedis no. Say na the beto aduane edi am edi bi ato oba de ato bi squatter de ni say na be say no.
Anything they say e bo kanu no. Na we no mi ko fili. Me 30 cedis no. Ma yi 2 cedi ma me bo ko school. Me ankasa ma say 5 cedi. Enu aduane ma me fie ni nyina. Sika na yakasa. Wow. Sa de na high pa.
Enti wakoji bank loan so be de wotua.
Anything they say you bo kanu no.
Here in Bimbilla, women have really suffered from the conflict. Aduzina, the presiding member for the Nanumba North District, tells the story.
You realize that in terms of conflict, women and children are the most vulnerable. And in terms of anything, we are the people who bear who are the greatest sufferers, because you realize that if you don't lose a husband, you lose a child. If you don't lose a child, you lose a brother, you lose a relative and a number of people and good friends. So you realize that in terms of conflict, it affects us the most because we seem to be the vulnerable ones. So in terms of our economic, it affects us.
The 2004 United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO report estimates that approximately half of the 104 million children worldwide not attending school currently live in countries recovering from violent conflict or similarly fragile state. The 2010 International Bureau for Children's Rights report states that the impact of armed conflict on children can be substantial and have long-lasting repercussions on their physical, emotional, and mental well-being. My rounds here have brought me to one of the schools in Bimbilla.
We are here at the Bimbilla Junior High School. This is what is accommodating students here. It's originally a workshop, but because of the situation here, they were compelled to use this as a makeshift school for the students. The authorities here tell us that had not been the conflict, they would have had resources to put up better classroom blocks for the students here. But because of the conflict, they have to relegate this to the background and rather use the little resources they have to ensure that there is peace in this town. That's the cost of conflict. Some of the costs we are talking about. So you can see for yourself. And when we go inside, you see better the conditions in there and how the students are coping with.
We want peace, no more war. We want peace, no more war. We want peace, no more war. We want peace, no more war.
Students are crying for peace. Restoration of peace in Bimbilla will not only give them the peace of mind to learn, but could also get them a modern school block. For now, an abandoned warehouse has been divided into classrooms for JHS 1 to 3. During rainy and harmattan seasons, teachers and students here run to their homes because the wind and dust make it impossible to study under the warehouse. The headmaster, Wimbei Mohammed, wonders how students can concentrate in a structure like this.
Teaching must prevail in a very conducive atmosphere. But if you are teaching and then all of a sudden you hear a kind of running or shootings, my brother, no matter what, you always have to you always one way or the other get yourself relaxed.
When does that happen here?
It happens more often for some 3 years. It's been happening because even last Saturday, had it not because of the fire, it was Saturday weekends. In fact, we would have actually closed down by almost. But very fortunately on our side, it was weekend, Saturday, Sunday. But if you look at last year, when the children were busy writing their BEC exams, it happened. And then again, last 2 years, it happened. When they were also writing about, when they were about to write their final paper. Some even did not write the final paper. So actually, it affects our teaching and learning. The children say, whenever they hear that, they can, some of them, when they leave, most of them are even staying in villages. So when it happens that way, they fear to come.
12-year-old Tani Ibrahim, the girls' prefect in the Bimbilla Junior High School, as well as his male counterparts, dream of becoming medical doctors in future. But they doubt if they can ever make it because of the instability here, one which retards education.
Some places they were having classes in evening, but for us we cannot do classes because of the curfew. Because the curfew is 6, we cannot come for the classes. We will be sitting in the class. If they shoot a gun, we will run away and even leave the masters in the school because we want to go home.
We are appealing to our DEC and our government that they should also help us so that the conflict will be reduced, so that we will not find any difficulties in our studies. Because if there is conflict all the times, we can't go to school to study again.
Not far from this school are some abandoned school blocks. For years, no resources have been spent on them. The Nanumba North District Chief Executive Alhaji Mohammed Ibn Abbas says there is a reason for that.
Bimbilla, the commercial hub of the Eastern Corridor. It was part of my dream to make Bimbilla and the Nanumba North District an educational hub. It was part of my dream to improve standards of education. It was part of my dream to improve the socio-economic well-being of the people. It was not part of my dream to be dealing with security matters and to spend time having to deal with matters of insecurity.
It's been 7 years since he was appointed the president representative in this district. But most of these dreams have remained on paper. Almost all revenue generated in this district is being spent on maintaining security. No development will take place in circumstances like this. Alhaji Mohammed Ibn Abbas confirms there are hundreds of security men in Bimbilla the assembly is taking care of.
Spent from 2012 till date, we have spent not less than 100,000 cedis on just feeding security and also the provision of fuel and lubricants. Not less than 100,000. Between 2014 last year, June 2014, and now we have spent over 700,000 on feeding and lubricants. That's last year, June. Last year, 2014, June. Till now, we have spent over 700,000 on just feeding and lubricants. So not to talk about the transportation, the vehicles that have broken down as a result of the conflict, not to talk about the allowances that we have had to pay to people who are here to support us manage the peace, not to talk about peace workshops, not to talk about meetings that we have to from the district to the RESEC, and from RESEC to the district, and that is why I am telling you, we cannot get you the exact cost. We can't quantify.
These monies literally going waste could have been used to complete the abandoned school block and even add more to it. The bad road network in this Nanum area could have also been taken care of. There are other towns and communities in Ghana in need of security men, but the nation has to keep scores of police and military officers in Bimbilla alone to save lives. As the district police commander DSP Benjamin Ania confirms, selecting officers to send to places like Bimbilla is a hurdle.
Our security in general, where we have indigenous in the police service, we don't usually advise that we bring people from the operation theater to this place. Those who hail from this place, it's not always advisable that we bring people, for instance, Nanumbers who are in the security services to come and operate over here. So sometimes we do such balances and to ensure that we have a fair level ground in terms of operations.
These strangers are selected to maintain peace here without any form of protection like bulletproof jackets. At times, the warring factions fire at the police and wound them. DSP Benjamin Ania confirms none of his men has been killed yet. He wonders how residents get the weapons they use.
Here are our colleagues. They are our own people. You can see poverty and squalor written all over their faces when you move, even from Bimbilla Township to the outskirts of the town, you see it visible everywhere. Yet, when it comes to firing, if you hear the caliber of weapons or the sound of the weapons that they use, nothing would, prevent you from suggesting that they have very sophisticated weapons. How they manage to get them is a question we are yet looking for. But what I can say is that some time back, some number of cartridges concealed in some bags of jute bags were arrested by the police, and then I think the case was handed over to regional CID for investigation.
The Northern Regional Peace Council has not seen rest since the troubles in Bimbilla started. The authorities have gone every length to restore sanity in Bimbilla. The Regional Executive Secretary of the Peace Council, Reverend Father Thaddeus Kusa, says that has not been easy.
From yesterday and today, the high level of mistrust, and that is what is making the parties not able to engage each other in dialogue. So our presence is to help them to break through this, so that the moment they now begin to engage each other in terms of dialogue, then there's a certain level of trust. Even in this process, Father Mike will tell you, the first time we came, they were so excited, and often I'll ask this question: are you ready to engage your brother? Yes. You come the second time, we're not ready. And it's expected. Sometimes you can get disturbed. But I said, no, it's normal. I had that experience in Dagbon. Oh, we are ready. We'll send it to the place. They look at the place. Okay, we'll stay there. We'll stay here. You come and they write a letter. We are not ready to go. Because don't trust them. So around that time, we identify and we can talk to them. Unless we want to say that we are not fine, but we are not.
If I'm not there, one, yes.
This is freedom. For most of my life, it's been a good place to live. Rich in natural resources, variety of the West. Much of our wealth.
You will tell me anywhere. The Regional Peace Council has vowed not to give up. It has started meeting with the factions in the conflict to re-establish peace among them. We chanced on a session with one of the groups. The other faction had theirs the previous day. In the session, a video of the war in Sierra Leone is being showed to the people to appreciate the harm conflict can cause. As they watched how Sierra Leoneans were being killed without any provocation, and how the limbs of people, including children, were being amputated in what popularly became known as short and long sleeves, the Bimbilla elders in this room could not believe their eyes. I am sure they were wondering how wicked men can be. Reverend Father Kusa sees light at the end of the tunnel.
For now, I'll say we have moved the process quite a bit. And to be honest with you, I'm quite excited. Because yesterday I was a little bit skeptical. But towards the end of the day, when this question was asked, initially they even resisted. They said, no, we're not ready. Then we have to find a way to reframe the question. Looking at the various dimensions of the issues, they say, okay, I think we'll consider it. Because I told them, you have told us a lot of nice stories. Who knows this story? This story you're telling us is just among yourselves. You need to tell this story so that others will also listen to your story, understand your perspective in order to move the process forward. So then they agreed that, yes, okay, we are ready. But on condition that we should expand the stakeholders. The stakeholder goes beyond just the primary parties. Because as he said in the analysis, I was really surprised that a lot of stakeholders were mentioned.
There were shadow parties as well.
Shadow parties. People that I never thought about. So if you are called me, oh, Father, what is the Bimbilla issue about? I would have been giving you from my perspective there. But that will not be right. It will not be representative of the issues on the ground. So yesterday and today, we have generated a lot of knowledge that we'll be using after tomorrow's interventions. We have 2 more groups to meet tomorrow. We will now see how to expand that dialogue. We only pray that tomorrow's group will also agree to this expanded dialogue that we are seeking, to include all the critical stakeholders they've mentioned, traditional rulers outside the district, politicians, especially DISEC, and so even we need to bring some people from Accra to be part of the process, because they all have interest, they have stake in it.
No more wars, we want peace, no more wars.
I have spent days in this troubled town, and I think I have a fair idea what the solution is. Bimbilla needs peace to bring the spark back to the smiles of the children on the streets and those in the classrooms, and to make the rising of the morning sun signal a new day of hope and a life filled with happiness for the people who live there. It is time to pack and leave Bimbilla, but the peace song sung by students of the Bimbilla Junior High School won't just stop playing in my head. They want peace and not war. This is Seth Kwame Boateng.